Hello. Today is Monday, June 2nd, 2025, and this is the Sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky. Today's weather here on the East Coast, the unofficial start of summer, the meteorological start of summer, the summer equinox, which is on June 20th. However you may say it, it's summertime. And this week here in Lexington, temperatures will be in the 80s. But here's our weather for today. Sunshine, highs in the upper 70s and lows in the mid 50s. Temperatures a little higher than yesterday, up by 40 degrees. Ragweed pollen decreasing tomorrow. And in other locations, Canada wildfires causing poor air quality across U.S. Today, sunrise was at 6:16 a.m. Sunset will be at 8:56 p.m. Currently, the UV is low, wind 2 miles per hour, the AQI moderate at 60, and pollen very high. Around the globe, Italy's Mount Etna erupts. Severe geometric storm spreads northern lights further south, and massive meteor lights up sky in China. Here we are, the second day of June 2025. But before we get into today's program, I want to take a look back at what was occurring 5 years ago, in May of 2020. This has to do with what went on with George Floyd. So, let's just take it from the top, a look back in history. The protest sparked by the death of George Floyd started on May 26, 2020. And continued into the summer months, with some protests lasting into the following year. The initial 5-day period of unrest in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area saw widespread civil disorder, followed by continued demonstrations in various locations. While some protests were largely peaceful, others escalated into violence, looting, and vandalism. Here's a more detailed breakdown. Initial 5-day period. Public outrage over George Floyd's death led to widespread civil disorder in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and other cities in the Twin Cities area between May 26th and May 30th, 2020. Continued protests. Demonstrations continued through 2020 and into 2021, including the establishment of George Floyd Square in Minneapolis. May 2021. Protests also occurred on the 1-year anniversary of Floyd's death in May 2021, although they were shorter lived than those immediately following his death. Protests beyond Minneapolis. Protests also took place in numerous other cities and states, with some demonstrations lasting for several months. Specific examples. Chicago. Protests in Chicago lasted from May 28th to August 10th, 2020. Washington, D.C. Protests in Washington, D.C. led to a citywide curfew and clashes with police. Portland, Oregon. Protests in Portland, Oregon lasted from May 28, 2020 to May 2021. New York City. Protests in New York City began on May 28, 2020 and continued for several weeks, including the Occupy City Hall. Seattle. In Seattle, protests lasted for 11 straight days, with some areas being declared an autonomous zone. Aftermath. The protests had lasting economic and social impacts, especially in cities like Minneapolis, where businesses suffer from looting and vandalism. According to American Experiment, Minneapolis has been slow to rebound from the riots of 2020. And it was initially brought out in the news. This past Monday, George Floyd died while handcuffed with a police officer's knee upon his neck, gasping for breath. His final words, "I can't breathe." 5 years after George Floyd's murder on May 25th, 2020, the country continues to grapple with the impact of his death and the subsequent racial justice movement. The murder led to widespread protests and discussions about police brutality and systemic racism, sparking calls for reform and accountability. While there have been some efforts to change policing practices, the fight for true racial equality and justice continues as the country struggles with the legacy of Floyd's death. So I just wanted to take a moment to refresh our memories on 5 years ago, and just take a moment for that. So, the news for today. Number one on the list, adult actress Mariah Mills, known for her role in The Wetter the Better, speaks out after filing a $50 million lawsuit against Zion Williamson. So apparently, Zion, is already facing accusations of rape. So she is adding to the situation. Mills is said to be mulling over legal proceedings herself, having previously accused Williamson of lying to her about being in a relationship while they were intimate. Next one. He's guilty of being a cold, freaky man. Suge Knight explains why he thinks Diddy should take the stand. There was another article, and I shouldn't chuckle, but there was another article where a former mafia hitman said Diddy would be dead. So anyway, the next one, F you. Father has choice words for cops after being caught at arcade a week after 3-year-old found abandoned near woods blocks from his home, deputies say. Father on the run for a week in the Indiana River County, Florida. That's where that story comes from. And it was a little girl, by the way. Next one, Robert De Niro draws the line, reportedly won't marry 45-year-old girlfriend without prenup after $500 million wake-up call. So it seems it is true. After a divorce from his wife and her getting half of his $500 million fortune, Robert De Niro is a little bit reluctant just to jump into another marriage without a prenup. Next one in the news. I didn't want people to treat us like we were lepers. Cookie Johnson did not want Magic to announce his HIV diagnosis in press conference. If you were around during this period, you remember it was kind of a big deal. He was playing for the Lakers, and at that time, information on HIV was not abundant, and people had their own apprehensions and what was being circulated in the street and what was medical facts. So what I didn't know is what I'm about to say now at the time. Magic and Cookie had just tied the knot a month earlier, and she was pregnant with their first child at the time that he made that announcement. And on the other hand, not to take anything away from her comments in the article, HIV infections are down 60% since 1995. Kendrick Perkins apologized for saying Anthony Edwards can't be the face of NBA because he's not a family man. Apology. Next one. 14 kids and a drug problem. New report alleges Elon Musk used heavy drugs, including ketamine, ecstasy, while being close to Trump. This one I'm going to share with you because it has a tone all of its own. Let's see if I can. Oh, here we go. So again, this is out of politics. 14 kids and a drug problem. New report alleges Elon Musk used heavy drugs, including ketamine, ecstasy, while he became close to Trump. Let me add this point. It was Elon Musk's idea, to come up with DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, and his term was supposed to run for 130 days. So 100 days into the new Trump administration's second term, 30 days after that, that position was supposed to be dissolved. Whether or not he would continue to have input in government functions or not remains to be seen. But here we go. While Elon Musk jetted between billion-dollar boardrooms in the White House, racked up $275 million in campaign donations to Donald Trump, and fathered his 14th child, a new report reveals he was also heavily medicated, recreationally and otherwise. And I'll add one more point. Elon Musk had originally proposed reducing government spending, or whatever the purpose of DOGE was, by $1 trillion. He was far short of that at $175 million. With all the firings and staff reductions and everything else that went on, that's all the money that was saved out of the projected $1 trillion. All right, the article continues. According to the New York Times, Musk allegedly maintained a serious ketamine habit, indulged in ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and traveled with a daily pill box containing roughly 20 substances, including what appeared to be Adderall. And yet, despite erratic behavior, Nazi-like salutes at rallies, that was this one, which he said was his putting his heart out to the crowd, Musk was still granted unprecedented access to national power, including classified briefings and the authority to recommend sweeping cuts across federal agencies as head of Trump's so-called Department of Government Efficiency. If that's not white privilege on a platinum platter, I don't know what is. Elon Musk isn't just a tech billionaire anymore. He's a cultural symbol, one that the Trump administration has chosen to elevate and protect, even as reports of serious drug use, questionable judgment, and ethical breaches piled up. The hypocrisy is galling, especially when you consider that everyday people, particularly Black and brown Americans, are routinely criminalized and demonized for far less. Excuse me. For example, if a young Black father of two was pulled over with ketamine in his car, the narrative wouldn't be about self-medicating for depression or high-pressure work environments. It would be about criminal intent, irresponsibility, and bad parenting. He'd be labeled a threat, not a visionary. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is managing 14 kids, popping psychedelics like Tic Tacs, insulting cabinet members, and still being defended by figures like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Trump's Secretary of Health and Services, who spent more time attacking vaccines and addressing the opioid crisis ravaging American families. It's no wonder Musk feels untouchable. He's been given the celebrity fast pass to government, no drug testing, no consequences, no accountability. According to insiders, even at SpaceX, where federal contracts require strict drug-free policies, Musk received advance warnings about random drug tests. That kind of systemic leniency simply doesn't exist for regular citizens, and certainly not for people of color. Let's also talk about the optics and danger of that access. While Musk was allegedly hallucinating on mushrooms and nursing a ketamine-compromised bladder, he was in rooms where real decisions were made about national security and public policy. We now know from the Times that Musk's erratic behavior, including making a Nazi-like salute at a rally and openly insulting members of Trump's cabinet. But instead of being removed, he was allowed to continue in his role until he decided to quit. That's not accountability. That's white-collar immunity. Meanwhile, the Trump administration continues its crash course in chaos. In the same week Musk exited the White House, reports confirmed that Trump's chief of staff's phone had been hacked. Another glaring example of this administration's dangerous ineptitude. Whether it's handling power to unvetted allies or failing to secure the most basic cybersecurity protocols, the Trump team has once again proven it's not equipped to run a lemonade stand, let alone a nation. But none of this exists in a vacuum. It's part of a larger dangerous trend where privilege is coddled and misconduct is rewarded, so long as you have the right skin color, the right bank account, or the right political connection. Musk's drug use is now painted with a sympathetic brush. He's self-medicating. He's under pressure. He's just different. To swap him out for a black or brown entrepreneur with the same behaviors, and the headlines would read more like a character assassination than a psychological profile. And don't get me started on the kids. Musk has 14 children, many of them born out of overlapping relationships that have led to legal battles and family strife. But we're not seeing Fox News run primetime specials on fatherless homes or degenerate culture here, because again, the rules only apply when you don't look like Elon Musk. The bottom line, we have to stop pretending there's equity in how America treats drug use, family dynamics, or professional misconduct. The same country that throws people in jail for self-medicating with marijuana or Adderall without a prescription is simultaneously applauding a man for thinking outside the box while he's allegedly high on Schedule I narcotics at government meetings. This isn't about shaming addiction or mental health struggles. It's about the selective compassion extended only to those the system already favors. And if the richest man in the world can fund a president, gobble psychedelics, father a dozen kids, insult government officials, and still be granted the keys to national policy, while a 22-year-old black man gets locked up for the same pill without a prescription, then the American justice system isn't just broken. It's complicit, and so is anyone pretending not to see the difference. Next one in the news. New York Giants former star, wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., takes fans behind the curtain to say he never wanted to be traded. And on to our top stories for Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Number one, Trump shares post saying Biden was executed, replaced with a clone. Number two, Ukraine's spiderweb drone strikes burns over 40 Russian warplanes. Moscow calls it terrorist attack. Number 3 in the top stories, fire kills 12 people reportedly locked inside drug rehab center. This took place in the Mexican state of Guanajuato in the town of San Jose Iturbide. Number 4, top stories. Tyrese Halliburton, Pacers troll Knicks after NBA Finals berth. So here we are, the NBA Finals, Pacers versus OKC with MVP SGA. Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, ABC. Elon Musk says he doesn't want to take responsibility for Trump administration actions. And this was interesting because broadcast reporter was interviewing Musk, and he had asked him a question about his time in the Trump administration, and Musk kind of backed off a little bit and said that they were supposed to be there to discuss SpaceX. But within a sentence or two, he was all in on the Trump administration. And one of the things that he said that at this point the reporter is mostly just listening because he just stopped him cold about asking him about the Trump administration. Now he's into a full-blown one monologue about it. So he said, I don't know about this bill being the big, beautiful bill. It might be big or it might be beautiful, but I don't think it can be both. So he kind of drew a line in the sand that he doesn't always agree with everything that the administration doesn't agree with all the actions of the administration. Okay. Boardwalk Empire star Devin Harris dies age 41. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Harris is spelled Harjes. Died May 27th at Mount Sinai West Hospital in New York City due to cancer complications, a representative confirmed to NBC News. And number 7, 2 dead, hundreds injured in chaos after Paris Saint-Germain win. Number 8 in the top stories. Netflix announces premiere dates, plural, for the final season of Stranger Things. I used to just use it as a throwaway thing. The Stranger Things have been known to happen. But I have watched the program. Number 9, Fareed's take. Trump's war on Harvard is destroying an American strength. And number 10 in the top stories today, at least 200 killed as flood submerged Nigerian trading hub. So that's the news and the top stories for Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Again, whether you're home watching preschool age children, already retired from the workforce, or still getting out there for your 9 to 5, I think we can all agree it's nothing like the summer months. This is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker. That's it. #